welcome back. This is clearly a very important topic that we're doing tonight. The topic for tonight is the boys in blue. Are they our friends or foe? This is a very important topic because we have so much going on in our nation. We have so much going on just around the world. And even right here in Dallas, you know, we had this major situation. So let's talk about it. Let's figure out what is really going on when it comes to the divide that we see between the law enforcement and specifically the black community. So with that being said, let's just kind of go around the room and give a really short description of what we see as far as, let's answer that question. Do we see them? Do we view police officers as our friends or our enemies? What do y'all think? Queen Jet, what you got?
I think we see them. It depends on what position that they're in, but I think for the most part we see them as a threat, or we're afraid of them in the community. We don't want to see them because when we see them, we automatically think.
Unless we call them.
Yeah, unless we call them or we need, something going on. That's when we see them in a different light. But even then, some people won't call the police because they don't know what's going to happen. So they just try to let the situation work itself out. But so I think for the most part, we see them as the enemy.
What you think, Samar?
I don't know. I think it's like 50-50. I think a lot of black people see police officers as the enemy, but I also think that the other half see them as what they are, what they took an oath to do. You know what I'm saying? I just think that, I don't know, I'm kind of torn because I've been thinking about that. So I don't know. I just think that black people who are maybe more aware, maybe those that's like in the hood, that do a lot of stuff, and those that are consciously aware probably see the cops as a foe. And especially given what's been going on in the media lately.
Okay. I'm going to come back to you, Rod. What you think, Gene?
My experience has been city cops didn't really bother me. It was those, like back in the day when there weren't a lot of minorities in Duncanville, DeSoto, Lancaster. Those were the areas that you did not want to go. It's like it was day and night, Dallas versus those areas. So I was never afraid in Dallas when it came to the cops, because it's like Dallas is so big, they didn't have time to just. I know it happened, but they didn't have time to just harass people the way they do in the country towns and the rural areas. So my experience was always a bad one when it came to those
areas.
Yeah, those areas around Dallas.
So the less developed areas is where you.
Well, I wouldn't say less developed, but just it was always Plano, Duncanville, Lancaster, DeSoto, Cedar Hill. All those cops is like, if you were black and you came through there, you were gonna get pulled over, or you were just always nervous. So
okay, all right. So, I personally see law enforcement as I don't get a good feeling. I worry about my boys specifically just being targeted, and as a mother of two young black men, it is very concerning. It's a feeling you get almost any time they leave the house, like, and it's just like, that's a bad feeling. So that's like one of the biggest issues. And then when you're driving and you see a police car behind you, it's a feeling that you get, and it's not one of comfort. So I don't see law enforcement as friends. I don't necessarily see them as enemies, but I don't see them as friends to the public. And I'm talking about the black community. So that's my response. Now, let's get the response from our officers here, and let's do a proper introduction. To my left here, we have Officer Crane, who has been on our show before, and we had a very good dialogue with him before, and I think that it was an eye opener for all of us, for us as well as for himself.
Absolutely.
After that conversation, and tell us a little bit about where you are stationed and how long you've been in law enforcement.
I've been in law enforcement off and on for about 10 years, whether it's been with the Sheriff's Department or a police department or just through the Department of Public Safety, DPS. And so I went to school for it, got a degree for it, and I think, you know, I do a little bit better at understanding things with not just staying in one place. I think being a sheriff's deputy out in the country and then being a city cop, like Daryl said, you do get to see there are different ways how they handle things, and just like different departments have different policies. But I've been a sheriff before. I'm right now a police officer, and I also am licensed to Department of Public Safety and have a security company as well. So
A lot of
thank you.
experience.
Not a lot, but I mean it's up there, I guess. I mean, so thank you for having me on the show again.
Okay. And Officer Hill, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience with law enforcement?
Well, I graduated from college in 1992 with a degree in marketing. My senior year in college, I decided I wanted to go into law enforcement after running into some recruiters at Southwest Texas from Arlington PD. So got my degree. Arlington was one of the only departments in the nation you have to have a bachelor's to be an officer, so I thought I can put my degree to work and be a police officer. So the African American Police Association nominated me, and actually I won Rookie of the Year in '93. Immediately went into narcotics, stayed there for 6 or 8 months, didn't really like it, got tired of buying dope from the same people all over. Left there, went straight into the gang unit, really enjoyed it, but I was catching so many gang members in stolen cars that the auto theft sergeant wanted me to come to work for him. So when my second love other than the horses is vehicles, so I went to work in the auto theft unit. Stayed there from like 97 to about 01, and then I came back out on the street on patrol. And I was on patrol from the summer of 01 until January when I retired.
Okay.
Of January 2016.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about it. The divide that we see between specifically the black community and the law enforcement is real, and every day there's something else being revealed as to how real it is. Let's just deal with the last 10 days. It's probably 7 days from now. 7 days. Let's just deal with the last 7 days. Because to the public, it looks like 2 homicides at the hand of officers. That is what it looks like when we see what we saw. So, let's just get a little bit of reaction. And I want to know what you all as officers thought about what you saw, the video. I know on Facebook, Rod, you had a different perspective because you see through a lens that we don't see through, and I understand that. So help us to understand how you interpreted what you saw.
Okay. Let's start with the incident in Baton Rouge. I see 2 officers getting dispatched to a call where they were told a weapon was involved. And here again, all I can do is go on what the video says because there's still, from what I understand, information being released on a daily basis. Looking at the video, and there's 2 videos that I saw. The first one didn't look that good. It may raise some questions in my mind. The second one cleared up a lot of things for me. Make a long story short, they contacted the subject. Apparently, they told him to get on the ground, which is standard procedure when you think you're dealing with someone with a weapon, because it's easier to prone him out, get him handcuffed, search for the weapon. Apparently, he didn't want to do that, so that's a form of resistance, passive resistance. So they tased him. Actually, they tased him twice if you watch the second video. That didn't work. He was a very large person, so they decided to take him to the ground physically. So the one officer tackled him. They went to the ground. He started fighting. And the process of that, based on what I saw, he was not restrained. A lot of people, and I've had this argument over the week, feel like he was restrained just because they were on top of them. Total restraint is being handcuffed. Because, and I've even seen officers get shot by a handcuffed subject. So technically that's not even restraint. But anyway, so they're fighting with him. I heard one of the officers yell to him, "If you move such and such," and then right after that, the shots rang out. After they shot the subject, the one officer fell off, still had him covered. I'm not sure where the other one went, so he disappeared out of the video, but then I think he came back in and then pulled a firearm out of the suspect's right front pocket. So, as I tried to explain to people, if those officers had lost the fight, guess what would have happened? He would have shot them. They were kind of in a no-win situation once they went hands-on. You can't just back out. Unless once he was handcuffed, yeah, but it didn't make it to that point. He's still struggling, and here again, I can't see totally clearly on the video, but my belief is that he went for the firearm.
Okay. Okay. What you got, Crane?
I actually did a lot of research on it as well, and as the officer knows, we're part of a group that we get several hundred emails from brothers all across the United States, and so I did some research on it so I could help my son out when he goes to work and everybody starts trying to manhandle about what his dad does for a living. So what we did was we pulled a transcript from Baton Rouge 911, got a 911 call from a lady that said she saw an African-American male selling DVDs out front of a store, have a confrontation with another African-American male about refunding a DVD that did not work, pulled a gun on him, and so she said she drove from the scene and thought that cops should go out there and investigate. That was the call for service while the two officers went out to make contact with the gentleman that ended up being killed. Upon making contact with him, just like the other officer said, they gave him 2 verbal commands to get down on the ground because, again, we have laptops in our cars. We have an idea who the subject is. You know, somebody says there's a gun involved, automatically everything is kind of amped up a little bit because you're like, oh hell, this isn't just a normal, somebody's out bootlegging DVDs. Supposedly this guy just pulled a gun on a customer. So I'm sure those cops were amped a little bit when they got there. So they gave him commands to get down. He refused. Being an instructor for the X26 taser, it appeared to me on the video that both darts did not make contact with the suspect's body, which means it won't incapacitate the person. So you can fight through it. It hurts like hell, but you can fight through it. And so both taser shots did not work, so they tackled the individual, got him down on the ground, gave him more commands. Through the whole time, he did not comply with any of the commands from the officers. And I saw the second video where I was showing my son from the store clerk, where it shows the individual's hands underneath the vehicle, and the cop yells at him, "Don't go down there, don't move," or something like that, or I'll do something. I can't remember his verbiage completely. And at that time, I saw the suspect's hands go behind the car, behind the cop, where you can't see it anymore, and then the gunshots went off. And then, just like the other officer just said, the officer rolled off, kept the subject on gunpoint, and his partner went in there, like you're trained to do, went in there and retrieved the weapon and cleared the weapon. And that's the end of the video that I saw. So in my personal opinion, it all has to deal with the 2 words that always goes through when I do a training class, is defiance and compliance. That individual defied every single opportunity that he could have done what he was supposed to do, and he did not. And unfortunately, he's dead.
Okay. So, Blaquer The Berry.
How do you explain the continuance of men and some women, very few women, but black men just dying at the hands of cops? Like, isn't there a better way or a better system where you don't have to go that far, especially if the media is really, projecting all of these cops killing all of these black men? Like, shouldn't the police force come up with a better way to deal with this situation so that it doesn't reflect negatively on them?
Do you want me to just answer for black men, or do you want me to answer for the demographic that's killed most? which is white men. I know we probably don't want to talk about that on Blaquer The Berry. I mean, it's not Whiter The Berry, but more white men get killed by police than black men. So
yeah, but that's due to population. That's not what we're speaking on.
Well, yeah, but you can't really. You have to go per capita. If it's happening, it's happening. It can't go off of well, you can say the same thing. 13% of the population in Dallas is responsible for 56% of the crime. You can't do that. That makes the African American male look horrible. You can't do that. That's not fair. If more people are getting killed of this race, it's a statistic. The statistic doesn't care about your feelings. That's church. That's word. You can't go against it.
Well, it sounds like to me that the media is not matching with statistics. Then, if that's the case,
Of course not, sweetheart, because that doesn't sell the videos. That doesn't sell the shows. CNN's not going to show all the white guys that get killed because we're not going to do a protest the next day. We're not going to burn down our city the next day. That's different.
But wouldn't there be some evidence of, like, wouldn't someone have some video that at least Fox News would show?
Oh, brother, they're out there. We're a part of a group.
I'm saying I never see it.
I'll send you.
I'm just saying we never see it.
I understand that, brother, because that's not what sells.
Not
on
even
Fox.
Fox?
No,
That doesn't
brother,
sell. God.
that doesn't sell. And like I said, I'll email you is in all my videos, and the videos that he'll get are not edited, so y'all see the real shit.
So like unarmed white men being gunned.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe. Wait, hold on one second. Let's get Georgette.
Well, when it goes to the media is showing the video because it went viral. It went viral first, then the media picked it up. So they're going to have to publish the story if it's already getting around. Why? Because they have to tell their side. You see what I'm saying? Like, they have to put on the story what they want to put on it, when it was just a video that was circulating.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. If you saw a white man get killed by the same circumstances, whether it be a white cop or a black cop, I don't care, I guarantee you there'll be 5,000 times the hits on that video for vice versa.
But my question is,
because it sells.
You said that the largest percentage of people getting killed or people getting killed by the cops are white men.
Yes.
Are they being killed?
By black cops.
No. Are they being killed without? Are they innocently being killed, or are they being killed because?
If you go to heaven or you go to hell, it doesn't matter if you're innocent.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like the guy that got killed, he had a gun in his pocket. They got a call that he had pulled a gun on somebody. So technically, they don't know if that's the truth or not. They approached him as if that was the truth. Number one. Number two, I continuously hear you guys referring to this human being, this man, as an individual, a suspect, in these terminologies. So let's deal with him in the fact that he's a human being.
Well, that's where the reason why I say those terms is that's how we were educated to describe individuals. Just like when she was just saying a homicide, every death, whether it's you get killed in a car wreck, everything on the corner is called a homicide. All right, so every death is a homicide, right or wrong. So it's just the terminology that they train us on.
But that's what I'm saying is.
Doesn't mean I don't look at him as a human.
But what I'm saying is we're at a studio right now. You were first trained to identify somebody as a human being.
Wrong.
So when you were born, you was already identifying people as individuals and suspects.
My morals and my ethics and my training mixed up. Okay, it's just like the government tries to separate the government and the church. When I go to work and I put that uniform on, I don't care what your color is. I'm not there to be your friend.
You're not at work right now.
I know, but what I'm trying to explain to you is we're talking about when those guys were on work.
Okay, but what I'm saying
when
is
they're at the barbecue
you're having
and
a
drinking the
conversation
beer, it's
with
completely
us.
different. I'm
You're
sure.
having a conversation with the general public. You can. So what we
what
want to
you
do
want-
is
what
come
you want
into
is
a
you
human,
want-
come into a conversation with us about a human
Well,
being.
you want a doctor to sit down and talk to you about brain surgery, and you want them to use layman terms. I can't do that.
Well, I
That's
mean,
the way I was taught.
It would be different if we were at a doctor's office and we had an issue going on.
Well,
but
it's my profession.
So what I'm saying is that shows the mindset of a police officer in uniform and outside of the uniform how do you separate the two? Because this was a human being. So when you like when you're referring to something or to someone, the way that you identify with that person is gonna be how you deal with them, how you see them. You see what I'm saying? So if you're already saying that it's a suspect, what is he suspect
But
for?
we're discussing that particular incident, and they were a suspect. They were dispatched to contact a suspect with a gun, not a human being with a gun,
So what made them a suspect?
because they had a gun.
What is the definition of a suspect? Suspicion.
But my definition is someone that's participating in suspicious activity. I feel like that would cover that all.
I have a question for Crane as far as the statistics.
Okay.
I want to know.
Mind you, those are statistics.
No, but does it say whether they were killed by other whites, or does it, or you just
The
record it?
University of Miami did the best report, I believe, since 2011 to the current date on officer-involved shootings. Okay, I don't know if Miami is like, the main ones on who does the best, but they did a phenomenal job at doing like a 6-year study, and the statistics just state that there are more officers-involved shootings and there's more white deaths that come out of that.
Well, that goes without saying because of the population. I'm saying
Okay, but let me ask you this though.
No, I'm just saying.
But if 56% of the crime is being committed by an African American,
Yeah, we're talking about-
then how are more white people getting killed at traffic stops then? Whether they're innocent or what?
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. Are those whites being killed by other white cops, or
To be honest with you, there was another.
because that's what's going to make the story.
Well, there's a separate report where I believe they broke it down even more in Dallas alone, or in Texas maybe. I don't know. I shouldn't even go over it since I don't know it 100%. But I did know that there was an alarming rate of throughout the United States on how many African American cops had killed white people in the line of duty, and of course it never makes the news. I think New Mexico was ranked number 1 in the nation for that. But the report that I read was straight up for Miami, and it was officers across the board, whether it be an African American, Asian, whatever, that
Right.
more whites were getting killed.
Right. So that's basically not the discussion we're having.
Okay,
The
sorry.
discussion we're having is, and this is strictly because this is what we see. We don't see what you're saying.
I understand
Whether the
that.
media,
But
whether it's Fox or whatever,
my
we just
question
don't
is
see
this,
what you're
though.
saying.
But my question is this though: as an all police officer, I have to look at all the deaths. If I just look at the Asian deaths or the black deaths, haven't I automatically just went ahead and become racist? And that's all that's important to me?
No, we're just saying,
I
is
don't
it just a
understand.
coincidence that black men are being recorded being killed and we don't see the
I
others?
personally believe that it's because the mass media is so awesome now. That's what I believe. I believe that you can't get away with nothing now that people aren't videoing. Like this weekend, I wrote tickets all weekend, and I just looked on YouTube and on Facebook, and one of the kids I stroked the ticket to recorded the whole thing. I didn't even know he was recording it.
Right.
So, okay, so let's kind of bring it back to what we're dealing with, because it's so extremely crucial right now. Like the tension is just, you can feel it everywhere.
Volatile.
It is, and we are really at a situation here. We're at a crossroads, because I personally have been saying for the last couple years that we at a point where we can really see a real racial war go on here in America. And in all honesty, some people think that it's time, because some people feel like white America, white supremacy, white privilege has declared war on the black community. And at some point, when somebody has declared war on you, you fight back. And when you fight back, there are going to be casualties. And that's what we saw. Okay, before we get to the shooting with the police officers, let's deal with the second case. The second case was in Michigan,
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay. Looked like murder. What do y'all think? It looked like accidental.
Looking here again, all we can go by is a video.
Okay.
and I've learned not to judge things based on just a video. But I personally don't like it. I don't like the way it unfolded. Here again, understand this term, violator. You use the word term violator when you stop someone for traffic, okay? The violator told the officer he had a gun. What made the officer react that way? I don't know.
Scared.
He told him he was a CHL holder.
Possible.
And you may be right.
I
It's
agree with
very
you
possible.
100%.
But I don't understand why the officer reacted the way he did. I don't like it.
So would either of you, this is a question from one of our listeners, would either of you have approached a situation differently?
Which ones we?
The current one that we're talking about in the first one? Both?
For me personally, for the one in Baton Rouge, if I would have known the individual had a gun, I probably, if my taser wouldn't have worked, I probably would have shot his big ass with my pepper spray, because the taser is good, but that pepper spray will make a giant into a baby instantly. That's
But he
what
would
I
still be
probably
alive.
would've- And
But
maybe,
you can sit here and
but you can armchair quarterback this all day long and say, man, why didn't Romo throw the Dez? You know, you can do it all day long. For me, the one in Minnesota, I agree with my colleague 100%. If it was up to me, off of the information I have, I don't care about his past and what he did 60 other times. I'm talking about what he did right then. For me, I would have to indict that individual for murder.
Yeah. Based on that
So-
video we see.
Yep.
Yes.
So this is something that really troubles me. And there's very few things that really make me that emotional. But these people saw their families murdered. That's what it looks like to us as the public. Okay, now regardless of the facts and all of that, that's what it appears. But then when we have the media talking about, and he was an ex-felon, and he was, had charges on domestic violence, none of that have nothing to do with the situation at hand. And what the problem is everybody wants to demonize black men. And now we are responding to that. The world is responding to that, because even the officers, like Queen just said, and Corey backed it up, fear. Why? Because the world has been trained to be afraid of black men. So, and I said this 2 years ago too. What we're going to see happen, maybe 3 years now, is it's going to escalate. There's going to be more shootings, and the reason is because the police officers it's kill or be killed. It's war. That's what it looks like out here. It's like a straight up war. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back. We're going to come back with Queen Jet. Let's get a quick break in. Y'all hang tight with us.
Do I just hit finish?